All right, welcome back to Guardian Games Modern Monday. This is Travis Cooper,
This
and
is Tim Chan.
from Portland Paper, we're hanging out, streaming some Paper Modern every Monday here, and it looks like we've got Grixis Death Shadow versus Black Red Burn. It should be a very interesting game here. Hot takes, Tim?
Um, I'm gonna say Black Red Burn's probably gonna have the game one advantage,
Okay.
definitely, unless Quentin's has a couple of lucky stubborn denials or gets a quick Death Shadow down.
So a quick addendum here is we are waiting on Amulet Titan versus Dredge in this last match, and unfortunately, they drew the game. They were quite the artist there, and just couldn't quite wrap it up with anyone getting a victory.
Yeah.
Um, but back to this current matchup, I really am interested to see this Black Red Burn deck on camera. Years ago, I played when you could play Treasure Cruise. I was playing 5-color burn. I had all the 1-mana burn spells, including Bump the Night, Treasure Cruise, Shard Volley, and this Black Red Burn deck, I'm pretty sure, is just playing, if you count Spectacle as 1-mana spells, the entire deck, or at least the main deck 60, all cost 1, which I feel traditionally Grixis Shadow would have a decent burn matchup because burn a lot of times has to cast 2-mana spells to close out the game, and so your ability to double or triple spell is pretty constrained, except with this black-red version of the deck. I feel like you kind of have a significant edge because literally you
Mhm.
can play a spell for every land you have, and it's hard for Shadow to use their life total as a resource when you can do 9 damage with 3 mana untapped.
Mhm. And especially since the Grixis Death Shadow deck does so much damage to itself, it has to play its game plan a lot slower, or it's gonna run into a point where it's gonna kill itself by turn 3.
Yeah, the new cards of spectacle are pretty insane in this deck. I feel like you can't play your traditional red-white burn decks with the spectacle cards because you have so many 2-drops. But when everything you're playing costs 1, it just enables you to keep a lot more one-landers with burn, with like suspending a Riftbolt or even playing a Lavamancer and attacking. And then you can play light up the stage and just get your second land drop and play some more spells. And the until your next turn clause is just insane. And have a turn 1 Thoughtseize for Quentin. It looks like Eli is playing the Eidolons in the main deck. It seems like that's a point of contention for list is if you regulate the Eidolons to the sideboard or if you play those in the main deck.
Mhm.
So 2 Eidolons, Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, land. Not exactly where you want to be. It's a little land heavy here for burn.
But Quentin's already done 4 damage to himself. I don't think Eli minds that at all.
Right.
Especially he's gonna drop a turn to Eidolon, is what I'm gonna assume.
Looks like we got a push to answer the Eidolon and a Death Shadow in Quentin's hand, and a fetch land, so be interesting
Mhm.
how this game progresses here. It feels like Quentin is definitely going to push the Eidolon that Eli deployed this turn, and then the fetch shocking equation is where it get some interesting decision
Well,
trees here.
I think you have to almost go to 10 to get the Death Shadow on the board, or you're just gonna sit and wait.
I think you go to 11, so
Well, if you
right.
go to oh yeah, yep, sorry,
I mean, you could
mental math.
if you're being really ambitious.
Yeah,
Quentin could have fetch shocked down to 13,
play
played the
Death Shadow
Shadow to
first. Yeah.
11, and then Fatal Push down to 9, which would have saved Shadow from a Lightning Bolt, but
Hmm.
also would be a very aggressive play against Burn, but maybe could have been the correct choice.
Yeah. At least your Death Shadow will survive a bolt, because now if Eli chooses, he can just kill the Shadow.
Which, if you're the Burn deck in this situation, you're definitely trading a Lightning Bolt to kill a Death Shadow, because that is the card that you lose to. All right, get a 2/2. Especially if you have the Battle Rage in Quentin's hand. If you can just take care of a threat, you don't have to play around
Hmm.
that card.
Based on what I've seen in Eli's hand, he's got all spells and one land. I think he's trying to navigate. Does he just go attempt to go for the next turn kill?
Yeah, also playing around a Street Wraith here is you could be conservative with that, saving your burn spells for your opponent, because for them to actually kill you, they're going to have to reduce their life total here. Who knows?
I don't mind the exchange because he has to pay the 2 life anyways.
Right, so it's almost like you get a lightning bolt. Oh, we get a goblin guide.
Alright.
Does it stay on D? But no, it gets in, and we get a land on top. What a deal. Fetch land, so that makes the math even more interesting here.
Ooh, this is going to be rough. Because Quinton's got that battle rage.
Right, so Quinton can fetch and go to 6, and then the battle rage for 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. If you have any other way to do some damage to yourself, you could go down lower, but then Eli might have a lightning bolt.
He does have the Stubborn Denial though, so he could attack for normal, let 1 burn spell hit, and the Goblin Guide.
Well, there is a second Death Shadow.
I think Quinton's looking a lot better now.
Yeah, Stubborn Denial is really going to put a stick in the cogs of Eli's.
I think you just fetch, go down only 1 life, play the Death Shadow, so that way you have the Stubborn Denial mana for Ferocious, I believe.
Yeah, Death Shadow is already currently Ferocious.
Oh, it is, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Known card, playing the fetch land, and getting in for 4. I wonder if Quentin's doing the old pin trick where you go to write down life total changes and, oh, no blocks, haha! And get a second Death Shadow here. So Quentin definitely drawing the 2 best threats in the deck. Not drawing those anglers are some slower cards. You're getting the ones that punish your burn opponent. And taking Quentin down to 6.
Well, does Eli have 3 bolts?
Light up the stage could also be an interesting draw at this point. Light up the stage plus 2 bolts. Basically, it has to be at 3 spells to win from this point. Because we're going to have 14 damage coming through. At least.
He does not have Spectacle yet.
We had a Rift Bolt come off suspend at the beginning of the turn, so we're good. Bump of the Night and an Eidolon. It is definitely one of the reasons I like the Eidolons in the sideboard, is it prevents awkward light up the stages like this. Because those 2 cards don't play very well together, especially if you have an Eidolon out, then you cast Light Up the Stage, you're doing a lot of damage to yourself. I would imagine that some decks would, if you're running the Eidolons on the sideboard, those would almost be like direct swaps. And this is a pretty deterministic, it's a pretty deterministic win from Quentin here. With that Battle Rage in hand, there's not a lot that Eli can do.
I think Eli needed to top deck another land with that Light the Spectacle.
It's interesting watching a game where you know that you have a deterministic win and you're trying to figure out what your opponent or what the players are thinking about. But
I think he's imagining to just cast it now, right? Yeah.
All right, looks like Quentin's saying I've got the Battle Rage, and
Yep.
there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, he needed that third land, or the fourth land, sorry. Yeah, looking back, I'm surprised that Eli didn't try to kill the first Death Shadow.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like if you have the upside of, oh, your opponent might not have another threat. The downside is that they cycle a Street Wraith and take 2 damage anyways, so it's not that much of a downside, especially when your opponent is at 11, and then that puts them to 9, which is still, you can divide 9 by 3. And
Yeah.
Okay, sideboarding here. I bet a lot of blue cards come in on Quentin's side of the table. For burn, these new lists I know are playing a lot of the 2-mana spells on the sideboard, the searing effects, whether it's blood or blaze. You're playing some Skullcracks on the sideboard. The list I've seen where it's not like definitely set 75, but tend to be playing like a lot of 4, 4, 4, and 3, of some amount of like Skullcrack, searing effect, maybe Leyline, and then maybe 3 fatal pushes. Because you don't have Path to Exile to kill, like, say, infect creatures or something.
No Smash or Smithereens?
Some are playing for Smash because you basically lose to Chalice, so kind of depends on what you don't want to lose to, and then just have 4 of those cards in your sideboard. Looks like I see some pushes in Eli's board. And Dispel. Probably as the Death Shadow list, it feels like there's flex spots for what the blue spells are. Usually it depends if they're running the full 4 Stubborn Denials in the main deck. Some are just running 2, so there'll be another 2 Stubborn Denials, and then maybe a Dispel and a Disdainful Stroke in the sideboard. Looks like we're siding in Dismembers. Nope, no,
those are out.
out.
Oh, okay. I'd be surprised.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah. So last week, Mark Rosewater hinted at a new modern product this month. Have you any thoughts about that?
I did. It was, can't quite remember the name that they're using for their supplemental products, but they do a cycle each year of like Conspiracy or Battle Bond, etc. And Mark Rosewater hinted on Twitter that modern players would be excited about this next cycle of that supplemental set, which in the past they said they're done doing Masters sets, so we can assume that it's not going to be like a themed style Masters set. So perhaps there's been ideas batted around about having a set where cards can enter Modern without having to go through Standard, which I feel like is what the internet seems to interpret the announcement as, and I think that could be a generally positive thing.
Or it could be something similar to the Standard championship decks, where they do a Modern championship deck series.
Oh, it looks like chat mentioned that's called Innovation Product.
Oh.
Lizoid?
Yeah.
Lizoid?
Because they did do a Modern event deck is what they used to be called, but now I believe with the Standard series they're calling them championship decks, I believe.
Yeah, they did. I had a lot of friends that got into Modern through, it was a black-white tokens style deck, had some Path to Exiles in there, some Lingering Souls. It was actually Inquisitions.
Yeah, it was actually
a decent deck.
And a Sword of Feast of Famine. Actually, there was a lot of good cards in that event deck.
But it seems like they're more probably going to put out a booster box type deck that you could draft with. So I'm hoping that they're going to introduce some cards to Modern.
Yeah.
That's a Surgical in...
One lander with a bauble, though.
Okay, Surgical seems like a pretty iffy card to bring in to me. Yeah, I feel like people fall into, okay, this is where I get into a little bit of trash talking about Surgical, where I feel like in Modern, people fall into this trap of like, my opponent plays spells, and I have Surgical in my sideboard, so if I take their spells out of their deck, then they don't have those anymore. But Burn seems like such an incredibly redundant deck that they're going to have more spells that do 3 damage, and I guess maybe you get lucky if you take one out of their hand, but that's asking a lot, and then you're
Yeah.
just one for one-ing yourself if you get one out of their hand.
Yeah, when they're playing about 30 burn spells and 8 creature spells, what's the math going to matter?
Yeah, it's a definitely I'm known for several tangents, and how people use surgical extraction in Modern is a tangent that I can uh, definitely go down. Yeah, Inquisition. We see a lava spike, a bump of the night, a lightning bolt,
And
and
Rift Bolt, yeah.
two lands.
A mountain and a arid mesa.
So yeah, that's surgical is not gonna do much right now.
Well, I mean, you get rid of 2 life for a bolt.
I mean, but a potential bolt in the future, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like not even a bolt. It's just not in their. It's not in their hand. So it's basically if it's not in their hand, it doesn't matter. Yeah. All right. Gonna get a rift bolt targeting Quentin and. Oh my God. Really?
Really?
Okay. It's gonna be really annoying if he actually hits something, because then it's gonna be like bad results oriented
Oh,
thing. Oh,
yeah,
did
he
not.
misses.
Okay, so basically, you gave your opponent a free shock, and they didn't lose any cards. I'm gonna try not to be too harsh here. Save me, Tim. Save me.
I mean, I'm kind of your boat. I do not agree with surgical extraction in this type of deck. I think it's targeted towards decks that specifically need 12 cards that are really important to decks.
Yes, like Arclight decks, it's fine. You can, Inquisition away a thing in the ice, take out that threat, and they have a limited amount of threats to play against you, or you get lucky and hit an Arclight.
Amulet Titan, if you get the Primeval Titan off of Thoughtseize,
Definitely.
like, it just ruins their entire plan. Like, there's just so many decks that it's not great against. Like, I wouldn't bring against humans, I'd never bring against spirits.
No, it's basically graveyard synergistic decks are decks that have very few threats or types of cards that they need to deploy. If you're playing land destruction and you play against Tron, bringing in surgicals can shut them off of ever having Tron. Whenever I do that, I just lose to them getting 7 mana and casting Karn, but I still think it's a good thing to do. And Eli might be thinking about whether to attack or not here. There's another land in hand. I'm definitely interested in land lightning bolt attack for 5 damage.
Get him down to 7. You still have 2 other spells in hand, I believe. Because he has Bump in the Night and a Lava Spike at least?
Yes.
For a call. Because Quentin's still missing his second land.
Interesting. Okay, the only reason I could see doing that is if you're afraid of a Death Shadow and you want to kill a Death Shadow with like a Lightning Bolt, but then if your opponent has a fetch land, seems like you just really want to get them like at this point in the game your opponent doesn't have a threat.
Push them.
Yeah.
If you're Quentin, do you Serum or do you Inquisition?
So it puts you in an interesting spot here because now if Quentin Inquisitions you, then you don't have lethal if you draw a bolt off the top, but if you played your bolt the last turn...
Yeah. But he needs that second mana drop though.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Quentin here, but...
No. So I think Eli will probably go in all here.
No reason not to. So it's interesting now with playing, when I play Bump of the Night, if you're playing Burn, a lot of times you'd want to hold on to your lands to kind of bluff having other spells, but the flashback of Bump the Night can be really relevant. A lot of times you're going to get your opponent down very close to being dead, but they're not going to quite be dead. So being able to just hit land drops and flash that back means almost every one of your top decks are going to be decent. And
Like saving that fatal push.
push on the Swift Spear, land.
Yeah.
Yep, playing out the lands. We just need 2 more lands to start flashing back those Bump the Nights.
Yeah. Oof. I feel like you just have to risk and just sear them.
Have an Eidolon, so
I
there
thought
is.
Skyrim response. Yeah.
I guess the only thing you could have would be a Thought Scour into, say, an Angler or something. But,
Yeah.
but you're not winning that game.
No. No. I think Eli could have been a little more aggressive in that match.
It is scary. You're playing against Death Shadow, but especially I feel like the time to put on the brakes is when your opponent has a threat and you're just gonna then load up on burn spells to do the 1 turn, 1 shot, or like instep, throw a burn at you, untap, throw a burn at you. But if your opponent doesn't have threats and you have a Swift Spear, I feel like you want to maximize the amount of damage.
Yep.
All right, we get a game 3 here, which is exciting.
Do you know if this black-red burn deck is playing Skewer the Critic?
Yeah, they're playing 4
Okay.
skewers and 4 light of the stages. Eli's list is a little bit different than ones that I've seen. I haven't seen any shard volleys. The black-red list that I've seen are playing 4 of all the 1 mana spells, including shard volley, 3 grim lavamancers, 4 swift spears, 4 goblin guides. Shard volley interacts favorably with lavamancer and kind of pitching your extra lands that you don't need off skewer or off a light at the stage. Enables your spectacle cards too.
Well, I definitely saw Quentin take out that surgical.
If Quentin rewatches this, I apologize.
Sorry.
I was being a little bit too harsh there. It's not only you; it's almost everyone in Modern that I tend to have that critique of. So, I am in the minority. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I know which decks to use it against. How about that? I mean, you fortunately play a color or deck that has white, so.
It's true. I'm actually not. I don't play any Rest in Pieces. I play Jeskai Control, and I'm on Snapcasters, and I play Surgicals. I feel like Surgical interacts really well with Snapcaster in a lot of decks where I want a Rest in Peace style effect. I also want access to Snapcaster, and I just prefer the utility of, even though it doesn't quite shut people out of the game as much as Rest in Peace can, it also, you get opponents a lot of times that bring in enchantment removal against you where you don't have anything to target, so. Although I had been wanting, I used to play a lot of Burn, and that's how I got into Modern 4 or 5 years ago. 5 years ago at this point. I bought into Legacy Burn before Eidolon was printed, and then that got printed, and then every Burn became a deck in Modern. So I've been looking at this black-red deck and thinking about buying back into it. It seems very sweet.
Yeah. Because besides Eidolons and Goblin Guides, it's actually a fairly cheap deck.
Yep, if you have the fetch land mana base in Modern, it's a deck that you can probably build for under $200. A lot of times folks will have some store credit to get them there or some trades. Yeah, the Blackleaf Cliffs are the other bottleneck there. Those are like $40, $50 now. It's kind of
the
lands, invest in real estate. I don't own a house in Portland. I play Magic against my landlord.
That's not the worst relationship to have.
Yeah, except if you.
Oh.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna
Eli
get into
brought
that.
in the Thoughtseize.
Maybe left him in. Oh, Eli. Oh, I see.
Eli,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. I mean,
Wow.
well, Quentin values the Thoughtseize, so basically, Eli turned a Thoughtseize into a shock.
Yeah.
2 lava spikes. Is that all?
I think it's a Goblin Guide FNM promo. Or no?
No. It's a Rift Bolt.
Rift Bolt, yeah. Oh no, the Goblin Guide was a buy a box promo, sorry.
GP promo.
Oh, GP promo, okay.
Fetch Mountain, suspend a Rift Bolt. Cycling a Street Wraith. This seems like a very aggressive use of life, which we see Quentin having that Death Shadow. It's going to be an interesting game. If you fetch Shock and don't have another Street Wraith, that Rift Bolt can just take care of the Death Shadow. So Quentin has Thoughtseize, Street Wraith, and Lightning Bolt. Or Rift Bolt has gone to him, so it's 4, 5, 6, 7. Should be and fetched, so 12. So there's a Stubborn Denial, lands, and a Death Shadow in Quentin's hand.
And 1 Fatal Push.
And a push. And 2 Lava Spikes, and an Eidolon. Eidolon turns into a Shock, and a fetch. So Quentin's going to go to 9.
Oh, I mean, he's got the 1 Summoner now to do with at least 1 more. Because I expect we'll see a Death Shadow and leaving Stubborn Denial mana up.
Yes, and then if I'm Eli, I probably just don't cast any of my sorceries until... probably see what the cards are in your hand. If you draw some instants, try to bait out that Stubborn Denial, perhaps. And this is where it gets interesting, when you don't quite have Lethal Burn in your hand and you have to deal with maybe a counterspell. Faithless Looting for Quentin can probably turn... Let's see, how many lands do we have in hand? Stubborn Denial, yeah, Death Shadow, got at least 1 more land. And passes a turn. And draw for Eli. Pickup was... Can't see.
Can't see. No, at least 2 Lava Spikes and 1 more land.
I think the Cliff was maybe the pickup. I don't think that was a land in hand, but I understand wanting to play that untapped. So looting land, Stubborn Denial for Quentin.
I feel like Eli, you should have just at least cast 1 Lava Spike. I don't know if he's afraid of Team or Battle Rage.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the idea. I like the holding pattern here. You're at 17 life. You can take a couple hits off that Death Shadow.
I guess we just don't know. Oh, he drew a 2nd Stubborn Denial.
That's going to be rough.
That's...
Also has a basic island left to fetch for. Oh, yep, we should probably go and correct their life total if you want to. Do you want to take that one, Tim? Your opponents think that they're at 11. Quentin's at 11 instead of 9. No.
Oh, I fetched basic. Thoughtseize. Then I took 2 Street Wraith. Oh, I missed the Rift Bolt. So you're at 9? So I'm at 8? No. 8? 9? 9? 8. Okay. Shit, that changes things. Yeah, it changed a lot of stuff.
Took care of some confusion there. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm going to go take this judge call because I am a judge.
The attack is my draw.
Okay, so then you would have taken an additional 2 damage.
Okay, that's fine. So you just 13. So I'm at 13. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What did we miss? We missed a.
You both missed a one of your thoughts you wanted to street rage.
I think I missed this. Yeah. Okay. So now we're back.
Okay, that's the advantage of being a judge and doing commentary is that I can sometimes go out and correct some egregious errors. And it looks like we got life totals straightened out here. And yep, we're continuing with the game. Just so everyone in chat knows, this is a regular weekly modern event. We like to hold standards for rules here, and there's no like take backs, but it is regular REL, and so you can't miss a trigger unless it's been several turns, and you can't like misrepresent a game state. We'll go back and fix those things here. So Quentin deployed one of the stubborn denials.
So Eli's down to 12. I wonder if there will be some perfect math for Quentin to hit for 12 exactly.
Oh, well. Eli's helping out there.
Well,
going down to 2. Oh, it looks like Eli was just not playing around that second stubborn denial.
well, Eli should survive for one more turn. Unless Quentin top decks a fetch.
So if Eli's at 12, yeah, you're right. This could be interesting. Oh, we even get a Faithless looting there too? What do we got? What do we got? A Snapcaster. Do we have a Bolt in the graveyard? No,
No,
we don't. So we got a... Looting is going to give a lot of looks for a fetch land. And one more with the Serum Vision.
Oh, wow. I think I would have just kept the snap for the stubborn denial.
Kind of Quentin went for the win there.
Yeah.
And
Did you see what that card he drew?
I did not. It might be a bauble. That might be Inquisition. Up, up, up.
Oh.
Yeah, that was kind of aggressive to get rid of that Snapcaster.
Oh.
And
Yeah, I would have played it safe and kept the snap because you have to win one more turn.
I can see it being exciting when you see like I could have the win, and you see so many cards with Faithless Looting, Serum Vision, etc. So it's not. I feel like there might not necessarily be a like obvious line of the you see a Snapcaster and it's like, oh, this does win the game necessarily, but make sure you don't lose the game.
Yep. I will go check
foil
on
mountain that Eli's playing. I think it might be Onslaught.
I will check on that. I'll be right back.
Could be unsure, but it looks like we have 10 minutes left, so we're gonna go find out what land that is, and then also we're gonna try to get the end of another match if we can. So we'll be back here momentarily.